What imposter syndrome is and what it feels like. That's really important because self-diagnosis, I know that we probably shouldn't be self-diagnosing ourselves with psychological disorders. Thankfully, this is not a psychological disorder, more a behavioral thing that we do. What it is, it's feelings of self-doubt that persist regardless of your education, your experience, or your accomplishments. So I'm a prime example of this. I've got it all over going on, and I've been moving through it for years and years and years now, to the point now where some of the things I put into my life as counters for imposter syndrome are actually things that really help me to move forward because I'm doing them in a much more healthy way. I'm not doing them out of some compulsion anymore. I'm doing them because I have a real reason to want to achieve something or to do something with those qualifications. About 25 to 30% of people who we regard as high achievers, that includes business owners. Business owners are remarkably high achieving individuals. They suffer ongoing imposter syndrome. This is a real true imposter syndrome that really is the sort of stuff it's almost neurotic, the way that we just have to keep doing it, have to keep doing it, have to keep doing it in order to overcome some imaginary obstacle that's not really there. Now, while there might be 25 to 30% of high achievers experiencing it ongoing, almost on a daily basis, there's far more people experience it as an episodic thing that occasionally pops up where they get to a situation and go, ooh, I really feel like I'm a fake and a fraud and I shouldn't be here. And this is really, I guess, very natural. It's a natural reaction to sometimes doubt yourself. What is not natural is to doubt yourself all the time. That is actually a neurosis. That's something which, needs work on it in order to stop yourself from self-destructing on so many areas. It is much more common in women than men. Up to 80% of women suffer some kind of imposter syndrome at some point in their lives, as opposed to about 65% in men. That said, though, when it comes to the ongoing imposter syndrome, it actually gets a lot closer, where there's about 72% women and about 68% of men who have this as an ongoing thing, but it's still way too many. And like so many things in life, there's such a disparity between how this affects women and how it affects men. And there's a lot of societal impacts on that, a lot of structural things that happen in companies and in business and in politics that really don't help with those numbers at all. Unsurprisingly, people of color and people on the LGBTQIQA plus spectrum are unsurprisingly extra affected. Now, you add disability into that, and when you add people from non-English speaking backgrounds who have English as a second language, when you add in the disabled, then you're adding in a whole other like mess, a Pandora's box of making sure that people are feeling the best they can about going forward with the things they want to go forward with, whether it's business, a job, or volunteering. When you add all these added factors, you go through the roof of the numbers of people who are affected by what we call imposter syndrome. Although we do have to ask the question sometimes, when people who are outside of what we call the mean or the average, who are being disproportionately affected by imposter syndrome, we have to ask, is it actually imposter syndrome, or is it that the systems we've got set up in life favor some more than others? I think we all know the answer to that. And I'll have a bit more of a look at that later and how we can sort of offset that and the things we can consider, particularly as some of our businesses move from being solo or solopreneur or sole traders through to becoming employee businesses, where we need to actually take care of some of these imposter syndrome traits in the people we work with as well. Now, this is not a diagnosable psychological condition, so you can't take a pill for this. You can't go into therapy, although you can go into lots of therapies for this. There's a lot of counseling that can be done around this, but it's generally something that people will self-diagnose for themselves because they understand what some of their patterns are. That, of course, requires you to be a little bit self-aware of what your behaviors are and the things that drive you. So, what are the triggers when it comes to imposter syndrome? What are the things that we understand are going to cause an episode of this if you're someone who does get this episodically? Quite often it's recognizing success. It's all around when somebody recognizes some success from you or gives you an award or a prize or something like that, where you are being put in front of people and stood out in front of people, and it sets off a need for almost like a false humility where it's like, oh, I was in the right place at the right time, or, oh, it wasn't really me. It was just, I've always just been kind of good at this. I didn't really work that hard for it. Or, oh, look, I had to work about 10 times harder than everyone else to get here because I'm not particularly talented in anything. So therefore, it's a really hard job. It's exhausting with imposter syndrome. It really is. It can come up when you're passing an exam, for instance, where you thought, oh, wow, I didn't think I'd ever pass that exam because, I've not really studied that much, and then you pass it and you think, oh my goodness, I'm some sort of fraud. I just happened to fluke that I actually passed this exam. Or it could come up when you're getting a promotion at work. If someone gives you a leg up, they give you a bit more responsibility, and you're going, oh my god, I've been faking my way all the way along to this. Imagine what a fraud and a fake I am now that I've got a promotion. You can see how you can put yourself through a personal hell when it comes to dealing with this, couldn't you? And with your case, being a business owner like myself, succeeding at business is one of the ones that really gets you forward. So you go, I've just been doing my thing, working along, doing my thing. Suddenly I'm a success and things are working. What's wrong? Because it can't be me that caused this, because I'm a fraud and I'm a fake. How could I be the cause of this? And then you start looking for all these other reasons why your business might be a success. And you begin telling the story, not just to yourself, but to everybody, about why your business happens to be a success. So, what does imposter syndrome actually feel like? What is it that you're going to go through in your head when this comes up? And it's something like, I'm a fraud and eventually everyone's going to find out. It's like being a kid and you're lying about something and you just know that your mum's going to find out about it in some way, shape, or form. She's going to work it out. Everyone thinks I'm good at what I do, but really, I'm just lucky. These are the kind of thoughts that go through your head. And you might think this is not too powerful, really, but when it starts saying things like, I don't really belong here, and at some point, everyone else is going to realize that too, or I didn't earn this, I just happened to be at the right place at the right time. You're going into a place where people are going to get that little bit edgy around you. They're going to get a little bit, they're going to think of you as untrustworthy. They're going to think of you as almost the fraud that you think you are, even though, ironically, you're not a fraud or a sham. You've actually worked your butt off to get to where you're going. But because you're convincing everyone else that you're a sham, they start to believe it as well. So some of the things you may do behavior wise, you might stop others from pointing out your success. So you'll never ever go for awards. I've been a special at this. Up until the last couple of years, I refused to let people nominate me for awards because I felt like I was just, a total fraud and I shouldn't be given awards for anything. And then recently I've allowed that to happen. I've been in the running for quite a few now over the last few years, and it's been, a good experience. It hasn't sort of crashed me when I haven't won, but it also hasn't caused me to have some sort of imposter syndrome when I haven't won as well. What we may do is also sabotage ourselves from being promoted to prevent attention being drawn to ourselves. So if you want to draw attention to yourself, or you're not the kind of person who really wants to draw attention to yourself because you think you're fake and you're a fraud and you're a sham, then of course you don't want to have a promotion, or you don't want to win an award, because it only draws more attention and puts you under more pressure for people to think, oh, they're going to work this out eventually, that I'm an absolute sham. It also drawing attention to other factors to make up for your lack of attention, or your intelligence. This is where, for instance, you'll say, well, the economic times are really good. COVID's been very good to me. There's been like a real rush towards digital products. So that's really a lot more responsible for the success than anything I've really done. So it's actually not taking any sort of credit for your success and drawing it over to other things to say, oh, don't look at me for the successes, these things over here. Your success is just maintaining an illusion that you're competent. So I don't know where this comes from. Well, I have a fair idea where it comes from. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing this webinar. Your success is just maintaining an illusion that you are competent. What a way to live. What a way to spend your life. Just basically thinking that you are a fraud, you're fake, you're not who you put out there isn't who you are at all, and that you're just maintaining a smoke and mirrors atmosphere to make people think that you're competent, even though you think you're not. It takes a lot of hard work to get there. What it all comes down to, you can't enjoy success because it always feels like you don't deserve it. You always feel like you're not meant to get it. You always feel like someone else should get it, not you, even though you've done all the work. You've done all the study. You've done all the commitment. You've done all the investing and the time and the money. Why can't you take credit for it? Imposter syndrome is insidious. It affects so many areas of our lives so often. It leads you to feeling eventually, when it's not dealt with, anxiety, depression, and guilt. These are three things you do not want to live with. Anxiety is just going to cripple you from ever doing anything again. Depression is going to cripple you from ever having the motivation to do anything again. And guilt will give you such a fear of doing anything that you'll just never step forward again. And this is not where you want to be as a business owner. As a small business owner, you need to have the ability to step out. You need to have the ability to motivate yourself. You need to have the ability to move past guilt and move into, triumphing and an abundance method of an abundance attitude that brings good things to you, while you are actually in control of those bringing of good things to you. You don't want to end up like this. No one wants to end up like this. Unfortunately, with a lot of untreated or undiagnosed, or more correctly, unaddressed imposter syndrome, this is the end product for people who just won't deal with this. Now, it may not happen this year, it may not happen next year, but after 10 years of constantly telling yourself that you're a failure, a fraud, and a fake, then eventually you really, really do believe this. And it has really serious psychological consequences that will take you into much deeper therapy. And if you don't deal with this stuff now, even with just a few very simple things you can implement into your life, then this is kind of the stakes. This is where it leads. This is where it goes to. And it also leads to others seeing that you're a fake, that you're full of false humility, and you're untrustworthy. Why would you trust someone who's constantly telling you not to trust them? Why would you take anyone seriously who's always telling you all the time about, in a really condescending, false way, that they are not who they say they are? That if you're telling people that you're fake because, oh, it's not really me that achieved this, there's something else that achieved this, why would anyone want to work with you? Why would anyone want to buy from you? Why would anybody want to trust you?